Good morning and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms, firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program so that your friends can know where the conversation is taking place. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and make sure that in the case of YouTube and Facebook, make sure you hit that notification button. That way you'll get notifications as soon as we go live, and you can participate in the live chat as the program is going on. I promise you that is a fun place to be when the conversation is going on. Anyway, I also want to remind you, please remember to visit fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. It is the place to go to find your Pro 2A swag. Trust me, whatever you're looking for, tank tops, T-shirts, whether you're looking for something for the home or office, if you're looking for something to wear, a cool mask to wear, so that you can get into some of the restaurants or places you need to go, look, we got it at fpcgear.com. All you got to do, is go there. Now, the best part is every dollar that you spend goes right back in the fight for a right to keep and bear arms. So you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's fpcgear.com. All right, Neil. In this time of unrest, we'll just say racial and cultural unrest in these United States, it is amazing how many corporate entities have just folded and buckled under the weight of the Marxist attempt to really upend our entire nation, right? And whenever in the gun community, whenever we think of, naked corporate greed and just people who are willing to pay for just about anything, there's one group that always comes to mind. Yes, Everytown for gun safety. Every single time I think about them, I think about the millions upon millions of dollars that Michael Bloomberg puts into this particular organization in order to help take away our fundamental civil rights. Which is kind of interesting because that seems to be, or at least what they claim Black Lives Matter is about. It's all about, hey, standing up for the rights of all people. And needless to say, just like the NFL, just like the NBA, just like every major corporation, they've decided that they need to make sure that they put their Black Lives Matter message out there as well. That's right. Let's check it out. So they made it a point at the very, very beginning to put out, they said, today we're stepping back from our regularly scheduled programming and using our platform to ask that you support community groups working locally at the intersection of racial justice and gun violence prevention. Please visit the page linked below to donate to 14 such organizations that our volunteers work with. We will match all donations made at that page, dollar for dollar. So, all right, so needless to say, what they're basically saying is Michael Bloomberg will match donations made to these Black Lives Matter organizations so that, hey, not only will they work to take away our rights of all people and take away our form of government, take away our legal system, but they'll also work to take away, our guns. Right. And by the way, needless to say, if you don't want to seem totally callous, well, then you got to have multiple messages, right? You got to send out another message. Well, here was another one that was sent out a few days later. Combating racism and white supremacy will require wholesale change to our laws and our culture. But this is a strong step towards creating a fair, safer future for people of color. All right, so Democrats unveil police reform legislation amid protests nationwide. So what Everytown is saying here is not only do they support taking away guns, but they support, defunding the police. Why do they do it? Well, because that's the cool thing to do. That's the thing. That's all the cool kids are doing. So that's what Everytown needs to be about. Which is interesting that they want to take away our guns and then they also want to defund the police. I really don't get that, but okay. All right. Let's go with that. Now, you would think that an organization as woke as, Everytown, because they have the money, they can afford to be woke. You would think that this would be an organization that, people of color, black people, people who believe that Black Lives Matter would love to work with. and work for, especially since they're so well funded. And by golly, they're standing up for the black community, right? Right. Maybe not so much. Are you guys familiar with a website called Glassdoor? Now, Glassdoor is a great place for people to go and visit in order to, talk about their experience working various different places. Now, so what you have here is you have a number of reviews on Glassdoor for Everytown for gun safety, right? It says, noted here, this is the organization. So just to be sure that there's no mix-up, all right? So what they've noted on here is that there are 26 reviews for Everytown for gun safety. And, needless to say, I won't say needless to say, funny thing happened on the way to work at Everytown for gun safety. Come to find out, black lives only matter to them as long as they don't work there. Don't believe me? Ask former Everytown employees. Here's one that, now here's an interesting one. So this one basically just points out that white women do not equal diversity. And I think that's a pretty just assessment. And I think the reason why they're pointing out this particular issue, well, largely has to do with the fact that all you really see representing the organization is largely Moms Demand Action, which is headed by Shannon Watts, which is basically, rich suburban white women generally tend to be the ones who are representing Everytown. So that is what they call diversity. But I mean, that was, anyway, that's actually just one review. Let's go on to the next review. Okay, this one was from March of 2017. This individual was a manager. Excellent benefits, fully covered health insurance, cell phone reimbursement, 401k match, etc. Knowledgeable coworkers who come from broad experiences, passionate and important mission. Plentiful resources. You have a billionaire funding your group. Wait, let's go back here. Okay. Here we go, back here. But poor management from team level from team level to senior management, inefficient human resource staff, lack of coordination and structure across the organization, and racism. Overall, an unhealthy work environment for many, especially people of color. I am quite sure that this is an anomaly. Nobody would say such a thing about the woke folks over at Everytown. Right. Here's one from October 2017. Pros, good benefits, decent pay, especially for a not-for-profit. Important, highly relevant issue. Cons, extremely abusive workplace practices, including but not limited to rampant racism. So wait a minute, you're telling me that from March until November, the racism went from racism to rampant racism. Wow. Okay, well, no valid reporting mechanism for harassment, very corporate office environment, inappropriate for highly sensitive work, blah 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 blah. But needless to say, I'm leaning on that whole rampant racism. Oh, a month later? Things have not gotten better after these reviews? You are kidding me. It says here, the pros, the spirit and strength of volunteer arms of the organization, Moms Demand Action, Survivor Network, and their leaders and staff members. Plentiful financial resources thanks to donors and fundraising departments. Yeah, that's mostly what's his face, Bloomberg. Excellent benefits and perks. Kind and smart employees, especially the junior and mid-level, who care about ending gun violence in America. Cons, poor and weak leadership at the senior staff level. No clear reporting lines or hierarchy led to constant infighting and toxic environment. Lack of internal communication and rampant racism towards people of color. Oh my God, Becky, look at their racism. That is what's going on at Everytown. But they also make sure to point out that there are not enough women in senior roles. Yeah, okay. So they're saying there's not enough women in senior roles. Once again, you would think that things would change, but no, it didn't. 1 month later, there are a handful of employees doing good work for all the right reasons. Benefits are good. The cons outweigh the pros. Racism and discrimination are things here. Wow, so not just racism, but now there's discrimination, whether it be pay inequity, promotions, and hiring people of color in real management positions. So I guess they're only hiring them in fake management positions. Inclusion are only buzzwords. Let me say that again. Diversity and inclusion are only buzzwords. This bad behavior is often rewarded. Wow. Well, that kind of sounds like how they feel about gun laws, because they want to reward people who do bad things with guns, but they want to hurt people who do good things with guns. But at least Everytown is consistent. And here we are, a little less than a year later. Oh, my Lord. Okay. Now, this one doesn't necessarily speak to issues of race, but it does talk about how it's basically an AstroTurf corporate front for Bloomberg. Okay, tell me something I did not know. All right. So, by the way, just in case you folks were wondering, I know you're thinking, well, gosh, these are all from 2007, 2008. Maybe something just kind of funky was going on then. Nope, not at all. Here we are, July 2019. Good pay, fun people to work with, and really decent benefits for salary workers. Cons: don't fully address real problems, institutional classism. Oh, they're trying to be nice. And discrimination against people of color. They try, but haven't even scratched the surface. So in other words, they're talking a good game, but they're not really doing anything substantive. But once again, this was still like a little over a year ago, right? Yeah, no. Check out the arrow. That one says April 24th, 2020. We'll just go to the cons. Please. When I was hired, I thought the reviews were from bitter employees who didn't do their job and just wanted to hurt the company. But everything is true. Management is so poor. There is a lack of accountability from upper management. They just started to become aware of the lack of people of color in leadership. But even still, upper management dodges topic and questions. There is no org. Wow. So, folks, the woke folks, the white middle-aged soccer moms who run, or soccer dads, I guess, according to, if you listen to some of the folks who posted here, they're not real high on Everytown for gun safety. They don't seem to think very much of their diversity program. One could say. But then again, you know, why would one assume that they would? I mean, why would anyone assume? Because one only need to consider who their leader is. Mr. Bloomberg. You know, the guy who said this.
95% of your murderers and murder victims fit one MO. You can just take the description, Xerox it, and pass it out to all the cops. They are male, minorities, 15 to 25. That's true in New York. It's true in virtually every city. And that's where the real crime is. You've got to get the guns out of the hands of the people that get killed. So you want to spend the money, put a lot of cops in the street, put those cops where the crime is, which means in minority neighborhoods. So it's one of the unintended consequences is people say, oh my God, you are arresting kids for marijuana that are all minorities. Yes, that's true. Why? Because we put all the cops in the minority neighborhoods. Yes, that's true. Why do we do it? Because that's where all the crime is. And the way you get the guns out of the kids' hands is to throw them up against the wall and frisk them. And then they say, oh, I don't want that. I don't want to get caught, so they don't bring the gun. They still have a gun, but they leave it at home.
So, yeah, let's just find the young black and brown men of color. Let's throw them against the wall and search them. And let's make sure that people of color don't get guns because, well, they're just going to kill each other. That is the founder and primary funder of Everytown. And we're surprised that diversity and inclusion is not an ongoing theme amongst the management over at Everytown. Oh, okay, yeah, that made me laugh. I hope it entertained you as much as it entertained me. Please share with your friends. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program, telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.